so biomechanics we call it. How the human body moves with relation to various joints. Okay, so that is what we will be seeing in biomechanics and kinesiology. Is the analysis of biological systems in mechanical terms, and kinesiology is the study of body movement. The body has muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs to help us with body position and proprioception. The benefits of using proper body mechanics for massage include the following: increased strength and power. So why do we need to know about all this? When we use our body, the benefits will be for increased strength and power, increased pressure, decreased possibility of injury, enhanced quality and effectiveness of massage, and increased career and lifespan as a therapist or body worker. So these are the needs for knowing body mechanics. Okay, so when you know how your body moves or how one joint moves in relation to the other, you can move effectively, you can use your energy wisely, use your body effectively, and keep it safe and strong for a very long lifespan, for a long span and a career as a practitioner. So there are different types of body movements. So these are all anatomical terms that are used for various movements of the joints in space. So the first one is called flexion. Okay, now you have a joint. When one surface of the joint comes towards the other, that is called flexion. So flexion you can think of in terms of angle. So think of this as your elbow, and think of this as your forearm, and this is your upper arm. Now so this is the angle. When you are bringing your forearm towards your upper arm or towards your shoulder, this angle decreases. So this is called flexion. So remember, this is all relative, okay? It is all relative to which part is moving towards what part. So when your forearm comes towards your upper arm or shoulder, this is called flexion. Now the same thing when the angle, so this angle reduces. Now the same thing when you move your forearm away from the upper arm, it is called extension, because the angle of that joint increases. Okay? So the opposite of flexion is extension. Any other examples you can think of, flexion and extension? Knee. Yes.
Bending forward.
Yes, forward bending is called flexion. When you reach down and touch your toes, Padahastasana or Uttanasana, that is a flexion of the spine. The spine is bending forward. Then any example of spinal extension? Yes, that is good. That is Ardha Chandrasana, or you can call it Anjaneyasana. And also you did the peak pose today, which is Chakrasana or Urdhva Dhanurasana, that is a stretching of the spine. Yes, you were saying something?
Yeah.
Yes, that is called extension. So by definition, flexion is a decrease in the angle of a joint, and flexion of a joint makes a body part move in a forward direction from the anatomical position. And extension is an increase in the angle of the joint, makes a body part move in a backward direction. Okay. Now you come to what is called abduction. Abduction of a joint makes a body part move away from the midline of the body in an anatomical position. So for example, if you stand and move your leg away from the body. So this is the midline, you have to see it in relation to the midline. Okay, so this is the midline of the body. If I take my leg apart, this is called abduction. So moving the leg away from the midline is called abduction. Similarly for the arm, if I take my arm up, this is called abduction, moving it away from the midline. So you have to say not just moving the arm or leg away from the body, but away from the midline of the body. So this is called abduction. And then when I bring my arm closer, this is called adduction. So these are important terms which are used very commonly in yoga, in our yoga practice. Okay. So similarly, when I have done my leg abduction, I bring it back to adduction. Adduction, bringing it closer to midline. When a joint moves away from midline, it is called abduction. When a joint goes closer to midline, it is called adduction. Then you have something called supination. Supination is related to the palm and the foot, mainly to the palm. When you turn the palm upwards, okay, it is called supination. And when you turn the palm downwards, it's called pronation. Okay, so any examples of pronation of the palm?
When you actually do a swan dive, you turn from pronation, keep head up.
When you are diving forward, so this is called what?
Pronation.
This is pronation, this is supination. Okay. The commonest example of supination of the palm? Pronation.
Warrior 2.
No, when you
Warrior 2 will be this thing, pronation of palm. Purna Uttanasana will be pronation of the palm, correct? Downward dog is the easiest example, where the palm is in full pronation. Okay, so that, and then you have there are examples also with the okay, let's see that. Then supination is where the palms or the hands are facing upwards. Can you give examples of that? When you are doing meditation, sometimes you are sitting like this, right? So the palms are in supination. Okay? Then where Chakrasana. Chakrasana, your palms are facing the floor, no?
But relative to your
Yeah, relative to your body. So it could be thought of as supination. Probably. Okay. Then also you have examples like when you are doing balasana. Like when you are lying down and then you just got your hands like this. So this is called supination. So very easy to remember, supination is when your palms are holding a soup bowl. Soup is for supination. Okay. And then you can also relate abduction is when something, imagine your leg is being abducted. Abduction means somebody is kidnapping you or taking you away, right? So when your leg is in abduction, it is away from the midline of the body. Adduction is when it comes back towards the body, towards the midline. And then more examples. So these are all example based. Okay, so this chapter. So flexion. So this would be what of the foot? Flexion of the foot. So this ankle. So with relation to this ankle joint. So this joint is, the angle is reduced. Now extension would be this. Then the angle increases. So flexion and extension. Pronation, turning the palms of the hands downwards or walking on the inside of the foot. Okay. And supination would be walking on the outer edge of the foot. Now walking on the outer and inner edges of the foot have also terms as eversion and inversion. That also is there. So sometimes these terms can overlap. Okay. Next you have lateral flexion. Lateral flexion is what? Example or what is the lateral flexion?
Wide things.
What is lateral flexion?
It's opening your side of the body.
Side body. Literal meaning is when the spine takes a bend sideways. That is called lateral flexion. like a palm tree, when your spine bends sideways to the right or to the left. That is called lateral flexion. Lateral means sideways. Lateral bend or lateral flexion, both are the same. Lateral flexion is an anatomic term unique to the spine. So when they say a lateral flexion, generally means the spine taking a bend. It involves bending the spine sideways, as you might do as part of a warm-up to mobilize your spine. Then what is rotation? Rotation is along like a screw. Along the long axis of your body rotates. So that is rotation. For example, when using a screwdriver, rotation is occurring at the shoulder joint as the arm turns about an axis that travels straight through the arm from the shoulder to the wrist. Rotation does not have a separate opposite movement because it can be medial or lateral, which are opposite movements. Okay. So basically rotation means turning along the long axis. Then medial rotation is rotating towards the midline, like this. When you rotate towards the midline, you are rotating medially. Medial means towards the midline. Midline is from here to here, from the navel to the, imagine a straight line which cuts your body into right and left halves. So that line is called the midline. So along that midline you are doing a medial internal rotation or a lateral outer or external rotation. So that not cat and cow. Mostly it will be rolling out the thighs and hips or shoulders and rolling in the thighs or shoulders. Medial, that's what I said. Medial rotation is when you are turning your arm inwards. That is called
Only arms.
arms or legs. Arms or legs. Internal rotation, that is medial. Why internal rotation? Because it is going towards the midline. When it is going away from the midline, it is called lateral or external rotation. Then you have elevation. Elevation is easy. When you raise your arms up, for example, that is called elevation. When you lower your arms, or like you said, cat and cow, when you do a cow position, you will elevate the spine or you will elevate your chest. And when you do the cat position, you will depress the spine or you will lower the chest. Okay, so elevation means going upwards, the spine going upwards in any back bend, like you do your cow pose, and depression would be when the back rounds or when it is in flexion. Then you have something called dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion of the ankle joint makes the foot move towards the shin as when you walk on your heels. So this dorsiflexion thing is very specific for the foot. Okay, so when the foot is in flexion basically, or like when you are doing downward dog, your foot is closer to the shin, whereas in the other one, plantar flexion is when your foot is away from the shin. So this can be the same as, like I said, the terms can overlap. So your foot is in flexion, or it is also called the foot is in dorsiflexion. Especially when you do Adho Mukha Svanasana, your foot is in a very deep dorsiflexion. Then where is your foot doing this plantar, this thing, extension? Plantar flexion, sorry. Plantar flexion is seen in which postures, for example?
One leg dog.
One leg dog, yeah.
And then you are
Upward dog. Yes. Any other postures? Reverse plank, Purvottanasana. Reverse plank pose where your ankle has to really stretch. So that is called plantar flexion. So this 13 and 14 are specific to foot, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. The next one is the foot eversion, okay, which you can see on page 63. Page 63, the bottom row of pictures. Foot eversion is when you press the big toe side of your foot down. The soles of the feet away from the midline. That particular movement or action is called foot eversion. Okay? And then foot inversion is when the soles of the feet point up towards the midline of the body. Example of foot, this thing, eversion. Okay, easier one. Example of foot inversion. Soles of the feet towards the midline, Baddha Konasana. Okay, so you can write down that. Foot inversion is soles of the feet towards the midline. Butterfly pose. Okay. And eversion would be when the soles of the feet are away from the midline. Something to think about. Probably in upward dog, you would call it eversion, but if it is not done correctly.
How about this hip stretching? Okay.
Yeah.
This
Good.
hero pose, how this pose is.
All that, yes.
Soft pose and
Yes,
even
those
the
things.
one where you use and go down, invert and get your legs inward.
What she showed, no, this Virasana, that is a good example.
Yes.
Virasana. So Virasana, what would be happening? So the foot is like this, right?
Yeah.
The foot is like this.
Or even the frog pose, simple frog pose.
Bhekasana. Frog pose. Yeah.
The one where
Correct.
you
Yeah, so your foot is like this.
yeah.
So when the soles of the feet are away from the midline, that would be the example, the frog pose, then your Ardha Virasana, all that soles of the feet would be away from the midline. Okay, then protraction and retraction, moving the scapula away from the spine. So can you show me that action of protraction? No, just show me the, don't move, just show me don't do the rotation, just do the what it is.
So protraction.
No, protraction would be, of the shoulder would be just doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this would be protraction and this is retraction, which you have to do when you do up dog. When you do up dog, you have to do the protraction to lift the chest. Also, whereas when you do protraction of shoulders, when you take your arms up.
Protraction is this.
Retraction. You have to take your shoulders down to take your arms up. Okay? Okay, where would you do protraction?
It's usually not like you always say no.
To some extent, protraction you would do when you do a plank. Also, when you are doing some pranayama practices where you have to do like this. You have to lift your shoulders up. So you have to slightly protract your shoulders to do your abdominal work. So this is called protraction of shoulders. Retraction of shoulders, usually we do in yoga to pull the shoulder blades down the spine. So protraction is when the shoulders move away from the spine. Usually when you are doing some arm balances and all that, you would be doing a little bit of protraction. Slight rounding of the back and all that. So when you are doing cat and cow pose, best example, when you are doing the cow pose, you are doing retraction. Am I right? So cow pose, you are doing retraction of shoulders. When you are doing cat pose, there will be a slight protraction of shoulders. Little bit of protraction will be happening in plank, because in plank we slightly round our upper back, not too much but slightly. So there is protraction going on there. Also, his good easy example is protraction of the lower jaw. So like we saw last time, the lower jaw is movable, right? This is protraction of lower jaw. Bringing the lower jaw forward is called protraction. Pulling the lower jaw back is called retraction. So same action. Protraction is lifting. In relation, usually protraction is used in yoga for shoulders. Lifting the shoulders away from the spine, and retraction is pulling the shoulders down towards the spine. Then the last one is circumduction of a joint makes a body part move from the anatomical position, describing a cone shape. Okay, the joint performing circumduction stays still while the furthest end of the body part moves in a circle. See some examples of circumduction. Not very common. Yeah, it is. Circumduction can be best performed at the ball and socket joint. Correct. Very good. So basically movement in a circular direction as if in a cone shape. Okay. So it is not concentric circles. The circumference of the cone is decreasing. And movement at the farthest end. The joint performing circumduction stays still. The joint remains still while the farthest end of the body part moves in a circle. Okay, so he says here it says such as hip and shoulder, ball and socket joint, but may also be performed by other parts of the body such as fingers, hands, feet and head. For example, circumduction occurs when spinning the arm when performing a serve in tennis or bowling a cricket ball. That is called circumduction. Okay, the joint remains still, but only the farthest end of the body part moves in the circle. So now he is coming to examples, and the examples are important because they will give you the idea of how body moves in class. Flexion is a movement when similar surfaces come near each other. This reduces the angle between two bones. Example, bending the forearm at the elbow. Okay. Now, for example, shoulder flexion. When you raise your arms up, what is this? Shoulder flexion or extension?
This is a flexion, right?
Why flexion?
Your shoulder, this with respect to your shoulder girdle is
So this is the shoulder joint. Okay, get this clear, it can be confusing. So this is your shoulder joint and this is your arm bone. So this is the joint, this is your arm. So the arm bone is going towards the shoulder joint. So actually it is shoulder flexion. Now if you are from here, you are bringing the arm down, the angle is increasing, so this becomes extension. Okay? And from here, so this is flexion, from here you want to take your arm back to do Natarajasana. So this is a full extension. Okay? So this is full flexion, then this is halfway into extension. From when your lowering angle is increasing, then this will be a full extension. So always when you think in, when you are confused, you think in relation, now where is the joint and which is the bone that is moving in the joint, then the confusion will not be there. Then, yeah, so examples you should be able to give with names of asanas. Instead of saying shoulder flexion means taking my arms overhead. If you can say Urdhva Hastasana, yes. Yes. And then for example shoulder extension, if you can say Natarajasana. Even in that you should say taking the arm back to hold the ankle in Natarajasana anta helbeku. So the action which is, so that would be very clear to, as to you have understood what is going. Because in Natarajasana sometimes one arm is upright and the other arm is holding the leg. So this arm will be in flexion, the other arm will be in extension. Yeah. Next picture is easy, elbow flexion. So this is your elbow joint, this is very easy to understand. Elbow flexion and then that would be elbow extension. Okay, and then this is wrist flexion and this is wrist extension. Okay, so this would be a wrist flexion and this would be a wrist extension. You can feel the extension, you can feel the stretch here when you lift your palm like this. So this is an extension. This is a wrist extension, this is a wrist flexion. Then you have finger extension. Finger extension is raising the fingers and curling the fingers is called finger flexion. That's all. Then hip flexion example. Hip in relation to the thigh bone. Hip joint in relation to thigh bone. So when the thigh bone comes closer to the hip joint. For example, the front leg in Anjaneyasana. And the back leg in Anjaneyasana is doing hip extension because the leg bone is moving away from the hip bone, hip joint. Okay. So hip flexion is generally, as a general rule, but don't understand it that way. Whenever you raise your leg, the hip comes in flexion. When you are doing your lunges, Anjaneyasana, then Virabhadrasana, front leg, high lunge, all this. And then in Natarajasana, your standing leg will be in hip flexion. Your extended leg will be in hip extension.
Where is the leg extension of your hamstring? You extend it and
No, we are talking about hip extension and hip flexion. So you need to be specific in your question.
I was thinking if we can, do we extend, because hamstring is a single muscle, is there a time when you flex it, or is it always extended?
So hamstrings,
Maybe when you do squat.
yes, when you are doing this thing, you are shortening the hamstrings, no? When you are doing Utkatasana, chair pose, there is no stretching of hamstring, so it will be shortened. Good. Okay. Whereas you are doing this Bakasana and all that, crow pose, wherever you are bending the knees, your hamstrings will shorten. Whenever you are sitting with straight legs, any posture with straight legs, the hamstrings will be lengthening. Okay. Then you have, next one is spine flexion, spine extension. So that we already saw. Whenever you are bending forward generally, what is spine flexion means? When the front of the body folds. When the front of the body folds, or basically when the spine takes a bend forward. So that is called flexion. So the lower body and the upper body, the angle reduces. So that is called your spinal flexion. Then spinal extension is when the spine stretches. Yeah. Then you have a neck flexion and a neck extension. Then the next example he has given is bending the knee, knee flexion. Next page is page 63. Specifically for the knee flexion is when the knee is bent, when you lunge, Anjaneyasana and all that, front leg knee is in flexion. Then when you are doing Anjaneyasana, the back leg knee is in extension. I think it's all clear, right?
This when we are doing
extension, both legs. Dhanurasana, we are trying to extend both the knees, and it's also a hip extension. We are stretching the thighs away from the hip joint, so hip extension. Then what is happening in Hanumanasana, full Hanumanasana with the full frontal split? One leg is in front, one leg is at the back. So front leg, what is happening? Flexion. Where all is it happening? Flexion. You start from the front. Don't talk about the muscles. Talk about joints. Here we are talking about joints. So front leg.
Hip joint.
Huh?
Front leg. Hip joint.
Hip joint is in flexion. Knee joint. It has to extend, but in Hanumanasana. Then what is happening to the front foot in Hanumanasana?
Extension. Because
Foot is
relation to
flexion
the
only.
extension only, because from the thigh, if you consider the lower part of the leg, it is extending.
No, but I am talking about the foot with relation to ankle. For Hanumanasana, front foot, yeah, flexion. Otherwise you cannot sit, no? And then for the back leg in Hanumanasana, hip is, the thigh is stretching away from the hip, so hip is in extension. Knee also extension. Foot also is completely pointing back, so ankle extension. Ankle extension is also called plantar flexion. Plantar flexion. And front foot in Hanumanasana is dorsiflexion. Okay? So there are some overlapping of terms. You please learn all the terms in this chapter. That picture also is very clear. Ankle dorsiflexion, ankle plantar flexion. Then also easy example is toe extension and toe flexion. Toe extension is when you lift your toes, and toe flexion is when you curl your toes. Okay, so here we are talking only, we are not talking about ankle here. Don't get confused. When we talk about the toes, we are talking in relation to the joints here. Toes matlab, toe extension is lifting the toes. Toe flexion means curling the toes. I am not talking about foot. Then you have neck side movements, which are called neck lateral flexion, side to side movements. Then you have adduction, which is a movement which brings the limb towards the midline. For example, usually it is referred to either with the legs or with the arms. Okay, give me example of adduction of legs. Posture.
In a reason like a
Adduction, not abduction.
Padanushka.
Good. Which one? Uddita Padam, no. Just standing and touching your toes, that you have to do. What is the meaning of adduction? Adduction means bringing the legs closer to the midline. Can you all just stand up?
Pre-pose?
Huh?
Pre-pose?
Yes. No, not pre-pose.
So this is.
You just stand regular Tadasana mein. So both your legs are close to the midline. So this is called adduction. Now you do your Uddita Pada Muchtasana B. जितना भी आपको हो सकता है. So now you are pulling the legs away from the midline. So that is called abduction. Any other example, easier example of abduction? Abduction. Virabhadrasana, where you are spreading your legs. Yes, but usually like we are talking about right, going away from the midline means sideways. We are not talking about front and back. Okay, so when you take one leg out from the other sideways, that would be like in Virabhadrasana.
Chandrasana would that be?
Yes, that is good. That's correct. Abduction. Usually adduction would be when the legs are standing together, like your Utkatasana, Tadasana, then standing and raising your arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. All that is adduction of legs. Abduction would be Veerabhadrasana 2, Ardha Chandrasana, Uddita Hasta Padangushtasana B. I would not use Uddita Hasta Padangushtasana A as an example because we want to move the leg away from the midline. Still A variation is still towards midline only. We want to lift and take it away from midline. So Veerabhadrasana 2 is a very good example of abduction. Generally hip opener.
In tree also, I think.
Tree pose also. Page 64. So the first picture itself gives you the example of hip adduction and abduction. And then the next example would be the forearm pronation and forearm supination. Okay, so forearm pronation would be like this. All your examples of forearm planks, chaturangas, all that would be pronation, forearm pronation. And then supination. What happens when you turn the palm up in supination, even your forearm will rotate. So this is also forearm supination. Okay, so when you are lying down like this, or with your arms like this. So here it is in supination.
Some people do downward dog in supination also.
Like this, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a variation. Yeah. But then he has shown shoulder circumduction. The movement of the farthest point. So in this case, the forearm is moving in a circular direction away from the shoulder joint, whereas the joint is not moving. Okay. Then toe adduction and toe abduction. So if you try to move your little toe away from the rest of the toes, that is called toe abduction. Whereas when you bring all the toes together, it is called toe adduction. Okay, so usually in a downward dog, what will be happening? What will the teacher be saying? The downward dog, they will ask you to spread your toes. Downward dog, one of the first instructions would be spread your toes and spread your fingers. Stretch, pull them apart. So that would be toe abduction. And toe adduction would be when you do your three-leg dog. When you do three-leg dog and you raise one leg up, you are asked to squeeze the toes, bring all the toes together. So that is called toe adduction. See, when you do your three-leg dog, so first of all these are all called, fingers are all stretched out, so the fingers are in abduction, completely stretched out. Then you come to your downward dog where you are trying to spread your toes far apart. Then from there you move to three-leg dog where you will raise one leg up. Now to raise the leg higher, I will be squeezing all my toes. So I will bring all my toes into adduction. Whereas the other foot, the toes will be in abduction. I will try to spread it out as much as possible. When the toes and fingers come close together, they are in adduction. Then moving the thumb away from the other four fingers. Thumb abduction and thumb adduction. Moving the wrist away from the midline. Wrist adduction and wrist abduction. So wrist abduction is moving away from the midline, moving the wrist into the body is called wrist adduction. Spine lateral flexion, shoulder horizontal abduction and shoulder horizontal adduction. So this is your shoulder horizontal abduction, moving it away from the midline. Then shoulder horizontal adduction, bringing it close to the chest towards the body is called adduction. Away from the body, abduction. Finger circumduction. Then rotation or circular movements, they occur when one bone moves around or within another bone. This movement occurs around the central axis. Further classified into medial rotation that occurs towards a medial direction and lateral rotation towards a lateral direction. So medial is anything that is towards the midline. Okay. So when you are rolling in, that will be medial movement. Rolling out will be moving away, would be the lateral. Then there are two other terms which are called elevation and depression. That I think is understandable. Elevation is when you lift something, depression is when you pull something down. Protraction is to move it forward or to move away from the spine, and retraction would be to move towards in the direction of the spine, downwards. Okay, so on page 66 he is given with asanas examples. Okay, so like she showed Uddita Hasta Padankushtasana B, first picture, abduction of the hip. So you are all aware of names of postures, I think, no? Basically, names of. So the first is
Sanskrit. So what is the name?
extended hand to big toe pose B. So that is the first picture, example of hip abduction. Then the next one, where he is doing what is going on there in the upper body. Garudasana, very good. So what is going on with the arms and shoulders? The arms are coming towards the midline. So this is called adduction. Okay. Now if you are doing clasped hands behind your back, that will be abduction. Opening the shoulders. Okay. Then the next one, third adduction, in which posture is he showing? Ardha Matsyendrasana, good. So what is happening is, the thigh is coming closer to the midline, right? Your twist, no? You are doing something like this, right? So the thigh is coming closer to the midline. Otherwise the hip is not dropping like this, it is not abduction. So this is coming closer to the midline. So example of adduction. Okay. He has also given examples of the muscles which flex the toes and the foot. Muscles which help you to flex the toes and foot. Number one is calf muscle. what has been labeled commonly is called the calf muscle. Then number 2 muscle is called soleus. I am on page 66. Soleus is another muscle which will help you to flex. So when you have to flex your foot, you have to engage your calf muscle also. This also is activated. Then underneath that you have your soleus muscle, that is also activated. Then number 3 muscle is flexor digitorum longus. So the foot flexor is activated. Flexor hallucis longus, flexor hallucis brevis, and Achilles tendon. So these are the 7 muscles which are involved in flexing your foot or toes. Okay. Now he has given example of next posture, eversion. Eversion of what is going on? Foot eversion. Yes, foot eversion when the soles of the feet are away from the midline. Yeah, soles of the feet are away from the midline. So that is example is, which posture is this? Sarvangasana. Yeah, good. Next posture is, this would be a classic example of lateral bending of the spine, no? Lateral flexion of the spine, Trikonasana.
This is not exactly Trikonasana.
It is more of a side hip stretching, yeah. Because why?
Because his hands are not here in the front of or the side of his leg.
Because his legs are wide apart.
It's too wide.
Legs are wide apart means it would be not a true bending of the spine laterally. It would be more like we discussed in that chapter, no? It would be more of a hip stretch. Yeah. But here he is talking about the foot. The foot is an inversion, he says. Okay. So foot inversion means the soles of the feet are in towards the midline. So this is an example of foot inversion. Okay, next one he is talking about extension. What is in extension? He is showing this muscle here in Ardha Matsyendrasana. Okay.
Wrist and relation to the wrist.
No, he is showing that specific leg muscle. Fine, you can skip that one. The next one would be extension. He is talking about spinal extension in Purvottanasana. Yeah. Then next one is important, that Gomukhasana, external rotation of shoulder. External rotation of shoulder in Gomukhasana, where the arm which is going up, the arm is moving, the arm bone is moving away from the shoulder. Yeah, correct. So that would be an external rotation. Whereas internal rotation would be like you do your Garuda arms. And this Purvottanasana is another example of your ankle stretch, which is called plantar flexion. Yeah. Then like we spoke about the arms and shoulder. Shoulder is in flexion in Urdhva Hastasana. Also, when you are doing Paschimottanasana, flexion of the spine, forward bending.
Here in
Also,
I think he's talking about this part which is getting extended.
Which one?
The
Side body.
Yeah, I think that's what.
He is showing this hamstring. Which one? More it will be extension of the other leg.
Leg and even the side muscles.
Yeah. So Paschimottanasana is an example of a forward bend. Okay, so spine in flexion. Then next page would be hip external rotation when you do it in Padmasana, when you do in Baddha Konasana, all that, Upavishta Konasana. These are all examples of hip in external rotation. Or what else can you call it? Hip external rotation means hip abduction. Baddha Konasana, Padmasana, and what is that other one? Uddita Hasta Padangusthasana B. These are all hip external rotators. Hip internal movement or hip adduction, that would be Garudasana, Garuda legs. Okay. Then next one is, now your question is answered. Hip movement, hip flexion in Uddita Hasta Padangusthasana A, hand to big toe pose A. And the middle picture, Garuda, in English, what do we call it? Garudasana, eagle pose. Eagle pose. Padmasana, we call it lotus pose in English. Baddha Konasana is called butterfly pose. And what else? Okay. Next one is your scorpion pose, hip extension. Or what you call that forearm balance. Scorpion pose, hip is an extension. Why do we say hip is an extension? It's like a Anjaneya asana and all that. So the thigh bone is moving away from the hip joint. So this is my Anjaneya asana, back leg. This is my hip joint and this is my thigh bone. So I am trying to pull my thigh bone away from my hip joint. So my hip is stretching here, hip is an extension. Same way it will be when I do scorpion. Here front leg, thigh bone is moving into my hip joint. So hip is in flexion. Then next picture would be what we did today. Parshvottanasana or pyramid legs, pyramid pose. Here also the hips are in internal rotation. When you do goddess pose, your hips are in external rotation. Goddess pose.
Yeah.
So this is the exact opposite. Your legs are both close to the midline. So this is internal rotation. Okay. Then coming to the true bending, lateral bending of the spine, this is like a true Trikonasana. The spine is bending sideways. Okay. Now coming to next, pelvic anterior tilt. So this pelvis is this whole bone. You can feel this bone, right? Hip bone. That is your pelvic area. So when you tilt it forward, for example, anterior tilt, for example in Pada Hastasana, the pelvis tips forward. And whereas in Chakrasana, your pelvis stretches backwards. So posterior tilt, goes posteriorly. Anteriorly, it spills forward, right? So when you have to bend forward, you have to rotate, tip that pelvis forwards, anterior tilt. When you have to stretch back, you have to pull it back, the hip. So posterior tilt in Chakrasana. And then if you see in your eagle pose or Garudasana, one hip will be up, the other hip will be slightly down. So that is called pelvic rotation. Yeah. And then pronation of the palms, that would be in your Adho Mukha Svanasana. Supination of the palms when you are holding your hips in Sarvangasana. So that is another example of palm supination. Okay, when you are doing Trikonasana, there is a little bit of rotation also going on. Can you see where he is pointing? So a little bit of rotation of the spine is also happening there. You will also see this rotation when you are doing twists, no? Today you did that one standing twist, which is standing twist. Yav madidriya ivattu? Standing twist we did one. Just think back to the scene. That is Parshvottanasana, and it's a more forward bend only. We did Parivritta Trikonasana. We did the twisted triangle pose, no? There you will have some rotation going on. Did you feel rotation in the back of the body? Slight twist. You have to turn and take your arm up, no? So you will feel a twist here, no? So that is called a little bit of rotation. Okay, so this is next one also you can see. When you are doing Chaturanga, scapula abduction. Not pulling it down. Scapular abduction is slightly moving the shoulder blades away from each other to do Chaturanga. I am not talking about protraction, retraction now. Protraction means lifting it up away from the spine. Retraction is pulling it down towards the spine. Now he is talking about the horizontal plane. Abduction of the shoulders, when the shoulders broaden, that when you do in plank. Also little bit it will happen in when you do Chaturanga. Now adduction, we have to squeeze your shoulder blades to open your arms for Veerabhadrasana. So that is your shoulder adduction. So usually abduction and adduction will be in relation to shoulders and hips. Protraction and retraction will be in relation to the shoulders. They won't say much of hip retraction and protraction jasti barala. It will be mostly your shoulder region where you are doing protraction and retraction. Then shoulder and upper arms, downward rotation. Okay. Shoulder girdles and upper arms, upward rotation. Okay. For example, in handstand. Shoulder and upper arm, downward rotation. Okay. So if you are doing an arm balance probably. Shoulder and upper arm, downward rotation. Okay, then trunk extension. In the case of Urdhva Dhanurasana or Chakrasana. Trunk is what? Which part of the body is called trunk?
Spine.
Usually it is referred to this, torso. Front. From here to here. So trunk in extension, you are stretching the trunk when you do a back bend. And when you do a forward bend, your trunk is in flexion. Because your chest is coming close to the thighs, it is called trunk flexion. Your chest is moving away from the thighs, that is called trunk extension. So to recapitulate just those terms you need to know. Flexion, extension. Abduction, adduction, that is away from the midline of the body. Then supination and pronation. Supination is palm facing up, pronation is palm facing down. Then lateral flexion is when the spine bends sideways. Then rotation is rotation. Medial rotation means rotating inwards towards midline. Lateral rotation means away from the midline. Usually we always try to work on lateral rotation. For opening the chest and hips, it's all lateral. Then elevation and depression refers to shoulder, spine, anything can be elevate your leg, anything it can be. Then dorsiflexion and plantar flexion are specific to the foot. Eversion and inversion. Eversion is when the soles of the feet are away from the midline, and when they are towards the midline, it is inversion. Protraction and retraction, usually with reference to shoulders. And circumduction is moving in a circular cone-shaped movement where the joint remains still and the farthest part of the body attached to the joint only